So I feel like I've been kind of in a little bit of a slump when it comes to my content, and I feel like I've been super negative. I don't know if it's like all my content necessarily, but I feel like I've been doing like negative reviews or talking about movies that I won't watch, and it's just, that's not the energy I want to bring to my channel, but I think it had something to do with 2022 as a whole. Anyway, I want to spread some positivity today, so I'm going to talk about my 10 most rewatched horror movies. These are my tried and true horror movies that are always on my TV, or if I don't know what to watch, or I want a comfy watch, a comfort watch, I will pop these on. I am always in a mood for a rewatch. I also will be showing you my physical media of them because I have all of them on DVD naturally. I've been more focused on watching new movies or new to me, and this year I think I watched almost 70 new movies, so next year my goal is 75, 80 maybe, I don't know. But I'm always in a mood for a rewatch. Like, rewatches are my safe space. They are my comfort zone. And I've also been super focused on getting my finances together because I've been dealing with my dad's estate, as you guys know, and I recently opened an estate account, so I've been dealing with a bunch of different financial accounts. So Rocket Money has been a really useful tool for me the past few months, but I've been using them for I think over a year, almost 2 years maybe, I don't even remember, but luckily they're today's sponsor for this video. I don't even think I could go back to a time where I wasn't using Rocket Money, especially now, because it's just become so handy to keep track of all of the accounts that I have. Basically, Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel your unwanted subscriptions, lower your bills, and overall just track all of your finances all in one place. I love that I get an email. I just recently got an email a couple days ago that my renter's insurance was increased because I'm on an auto renewal process, and I'm not sure why it was increased, to be honest. Maybe Rocket Money can help me lower that. I don't know. It was by a couple dollars. It's not a big deal. But Rocket Money emailed me to let me know that that recurring charge was increased. So they always keep you up to date, and I get email notifications all the time for what's going on with my money. And I love this feature because I personally have pretty much everything except my rent on auto pay. So I don't actually really see, make the payments myself. It's just all done automatically. So to be notified when something changes or like a subscription was increased, and then I can decide if I want to keep that or not, is really convenient because it's really hard to keep track of everything. And I absolutely love that if I see something I don't want anymore, I can go into Rocket Money on their app, and just with a few clicks, they will cancel it for me. I don't have to deal with the company or, have them bother me. Like, are you sure you want to leave? Like, no customer service, anything like that. They just do it for you. And I like having all of my financial accounts in one place so I can keep track and also look at my spending, like in what categories I'm spending the most money and where I'm spending too much money maybe. And like I said, dealing with my dad's estate account, it's really nice to see it all laid out for me just in one place. So to try Rocket Money out for yourself today and unlock even more features with premium, make sure you go to rocketmoney.com/possessedbyhorror, or you can click the link in the description down below. Anyway, let's get into my most rewatched horror movies. I absolutely loved planning this video and figuring out which are actually my most rewatched, because I could name a few off the top of my head, but going through my collection and seeing which ones I actually watch, and also going through my Letterboxd and seeing which ones I, rewatch, because I usually log them. Sometimes I don't. My most rewatched horror movies aren't necessarily like my favorite horror movies of all time. I did do a top 30 movies of all time, including non-horror. Half of them were non-horror. If you're curious, I will link that video up here if you want to know what my favorite movies of all time are. Some of these are my favorites, but a lot of them aren't, and they're just easy watches. In fact, I think some of the best horror ever done is usually not rewatchable at all. So the first one is no mystery to you guys. You probably knew it was going to be in this video. We have The Ring, obviously. Now, this is the exception to some of the best horror movies are not rewatchable. This one's almost not rewatchable, right? It took a long time for me to get to a point where I could actually rewatch this because it is quite disturbing for me and the kind of horror that really bothers me and really gets to me. So watching this alone, still a little tough sometimes. I do it, but this is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's obviously going to be one of my most rewatched as well. It's just amazing. So not only do I have the standard DVD, which is actually broken, so I would love to get this replaced. I also have a VHS tape of it, also broken, but I got it for the the case and everything because the aesthetics are really cool. I don't actually have a VHS player right now, but I also thought I would show you, I just thought we're doing a little show and tell in this video as well because I have the physical copies. Why not show you? I also have the steelbook, which recently came out for The Ring. I did an unboxing on TikTok of this in case you've never seen it. It is absolutely beautiful. Again, I don't currently have anything that can play Blu-ray because our Xbox broke, so we're in the market to get a new console at some point. It's just not a priority right now. So I can't actually watch this or this, but I have to have them, right? I also have the soundtrack on vinyl, which I do have a record player, so I can listen to that. Anyway, the steelbook is so beautiful. I love it. It's obviously made of metal. We have Samara herself there with a lovely blue disc. I just think The Ring is the perfect movie. It is, everything about it is perfect, from the acting, the color grading, the score is stunning, the setting being in Washington, and it's just the perfect rainy day horror movie. And then not to mention the actual horror itself is some of my favorite visuals. Not necessarily to look at every time, but you know, I'm finally at a place where I can. When I first saw this, it actually traumatized me, and I didn't actually like horror movies for a long time because of it. So I have a very personal relationship with The Ring. Now, ironically, the director Gore Verbinski, I don't really care about anything else that he has done. He's done A Cure for Wellness and Rango. A Cure for Wellness, not that great. I saw it in theaters, but I don't really remember that much from it, but I remember I wasn't really a fan. But he was the writer and director of those as well. So he has kind of a random filmography. I wish it was someone that I could, you know, seek out more work from because I love what he did with The Ring. He doesn't do anything like this. You know, this is like a one-off for him, which is kind of sad when that happens, when you find someone who does a perfect piece of art to you, and then the rest of their stuff is just like, okay. Which is why I really appreciate Mike Flanagan, because I feel like he rarely misses, you know? Next up is a movie you might be surprised is on this list because it came out in 2021 and it's one of my most rewatched horror movies, even though it's also one of the newer ones. The newest one on this list, and that is Last Night in Soho. Now, obviously, it's only 2 years old at this point, but it is definitely one of my most rewatched just within those 2 years, and it'll continue to be one of my most rewatched in the future. So I have no doubt I will continue to watch this every single year. I usually watch this once or twice at least in the winter, fall, winter time, in the last couple years. So that's probably going to continue. I've already watched it once this year. I'm due for another one. This movie is the ultimate. If I don't know what to watch, but I just want to sit down and watch a movie / be on my phone a little bit or eat dinner or, you know, just something comfy, this is my go-to. So this is about an aspiring fashion designer who is obsessed with the 60s and she travels to London to go to school. However, her living situation ends up being not what she expected. Her roommates are kind of mean, and she finds a small little unit on the top floor of a old woman's house. And while she's staying there, she starts experiencing these vivid dreams and visions of someone else's life in the 1960s. I love that a lot of this movie is filmed practically. Like, I enjoy that so much. And the way this is made is just stunning. It's an Edgar Wright film, so he has also done Scott Pilgrim and Shaun of the Dead. So again, kind of a little bit of a random filmography, given this one's a horror movie. Shaun of the Dead is a horror movie, but you know what I mean. It's a very lighthearted, like, comedy. But this one's still pretty light on the horror. Like, this is definitely a very beginner-friendly horror movie, which I love about it because it's not heavy. Like, there's nothing too much about it where you can't show a non-horror fan this, or you can't like sit down and actually enjoy it without anything being too intense. And sometimes that's just what you're in the mood for. So with this one, it instantly, as soon as I saw it, became one of my favorite movies of all time. 2 days after I saw it, I watched it again because I was just so obsessed with it. And then on launch day, I think it was January 18th, why do I remember that? I went to Target on launch day when they opened looking for this, and they didn't have it on the shelves yet, so I was one of those annoying people. I went up to a Target employee and I was like, I'm looking for this movie, and then she was like, I don't even know if it's off the truck yet. But she found them. They were indeed in the store. They were still in the box, and so I got the copy right out of the box and she handed it to me, and I was so excited, so grateful. Even Stephen King has said that he hardly does a rewatch. There's so many good things out there, but this one is so special. So even Stephen King is rewatching this one. This one is just particularly one of the most rewatchable movies I think ever made. Like, everything about it is stunning. I like the actors. Thomasine McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy is really great. I love the casting of this one specifically. Thomasine McKenzie also did Old that year, another great one. Honorable mention because I have seen it multiple times. But that was like her year, and I really became a fan of her in 2021. Next one is going to be a really random one, and probably not everyone's favorite movie in this video. We have Blair Witch from 2016. So this one does not acknowledge anything from Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows, so it completely ignores that one because the director thought that one was lacking so much from, you know, the found footage to scenes in the woods and whatnot that he wanted to make his own that like paid homage closer to the original Blair Witch. So this is like a true sequel to the Blair Witch Project. And this is 17 years after the disappearance of Heather, and it follows her brother who sets out into the woods, who believes that she is still alive or could be alive because of one image like on this tape that he found. I genuinely believe that the last 20 minutes of this movie is some of the most intense, horrific content, like filmmaking, that I have seen in the last decade. This came out in 2016, easily within the last 10 years. Like, this is some of the best horror visuals as far as found footage goes, and like the tension in the end is, and that completely makes the movie. You know, the whole movie's great. I actually really enjoy a lot of it, but it was just, you know, I was enjoying my time, but it was just fine for the most part for a lot of it. Kind of like when I watched Smile, I didn't really love it until the end. Same with this one. I wasn't obsessed with it until the end. When I saw the end scenes play out, instantly fell in love. And I think this is the perfect sequel because they keep the story very minimal. It's very simple. It's just her brother looking for Heather, you know, not knowing if she's alive or not, but having hope that maybe she is. And it's just kind of, that's it. And it's very simple. And some argue that the first one didn't need a sequel, and it definitely doesn't need two. I agree, it doesn't necessarily need to. The first one, again, in my opinion, is a perfect movie, but I think it's believable. I think they did really well with the story in this one to make it more believable as a sequel to the Blair Witch Project. And for those of you that complain that nothing happens in the original Blair Witch Project, this one's for you because a lot of stuff actually happens, and there's gore, and like I said, you do see stuff. There's stuff you see. So if you think that the first one's boring, this one is not going to be boring at all. It is found footage though, but I do think the found footage is a little bit more stable than the first one. I like the rawness and like the shaky camera, you know, that kind of found footage style for the first one, but this one I think is done really well. But the original is one of my favorite movies of all time, so that might be weird to some people because I know not everyone loves this. Like, I don't think it has a very good rating, and that confuses me, but you know, some people love the original so much they can't accept this as a sequel, and that's okay. I really enjoy the director of this, Adam Wingard. He has also done You're Next and The Guest, both really great movies. So this one just fits right in there. I think it's great. He has a great filmography. He's also done a lot of shorts for the VHS movies, ABCs of Death, things like that. Anyway, I love putting this on. It's just a great camping style movie. It's so good. Next up, we have none other than 13 Ghosts. Oh my gosh, this is such a comfy watch to me. Look at this copy too. I have the original horror sticker on here. How cool is that? It's one of those like cardboard cases that look like this. So great. Again, this is one of those movies I don't feel like needs an explanation or introduction because a lot of people have probably seen this. If not, go watch it. Go in not knowing anything. I think you'd, you know, get a kick out of that. But this movie is sentimental because of my personal history with it, because this is one of the movies that I refused to watch so long until I think my late teens or early 20s, and I finally watched it. And I was like, oh, is that all? Like, I thought it was going to be so much more intense and disturbing and violent. And it wasn't. It was kind of campy in a great way. And I was like, that movie is fantastic. And it's classic early 2000s, particularly in the way it's filmed. I feel like some people had issue with the cuts and the flashing and like the slow-mo. There's like random shots that don't really make sense in movie making or in this movie, but they're fun. They're early 2000s. Like, you cannot escape that atmosphere of the early 2000s in this movie. and to me that's like a selling point. But even with like the DVD and the special features are so great. If you've never watched the special features, you could probably find them on YouTube, but there is a section on the DVD that goes into each individual ghost and their backstories. So definitely go check out that and listen to their backstories because it's incredible. So Steve Beck is the director of this one, and he's only directed this and one other movie ever, and that's Ghost Ship from 2002. I think that one's pretty good too, underrated, not as good as this one, but that's a good one too, and I love the setting in that one. Iconic first scene, obviously. But those are the only 2 movies he's ever done. So he did 2 movies and he's like, I'm good. Obviously this is a remake. I haven't seen the original, and I know some people have a really big issue with that I like remakes having never seen the original. I don't know if it's always necessary. They didn't stay true to the original from what I understand. The only thing they maintained through to the remake is the glasses that they wear in order to see the ghosts. Beyond that, I'm pretty sure this is completely different, like a different story, different ghosts, all of it. So I don't know if I would like the original. Maybe I'll watch it one day and report back and do a little video on it and doing a comparison with the remake. I don't know. Next up is what I think is up there with The Ring of being the best movie on this list is The Descent. This movie I rewatch all the time, which is probably the least rewatchable out of all of these for some reason, yet I keep doing it. I keep rewatching it. So this, of course, is a claustrophobic movie of a group of women who go to a cave. They want to go caving, but of course the worst thing happens and they end up getting trapped in the cave, but then they soon realize that they're not actually alone in these pitch black caves. So it's not necessarily the most comfy watch. You know, all the other ones I pretty much describe as comfort watches. The Ring's not really a comfort watch because it's still a little bit intense for me. It still scares me to this day, you know. Also, the reason why this is one of the best movies on this list is because this holds up no matter what era it is. I feel like no matter what year, this holds up. This was filmed in 2005 or was released in 2005, and it does not feel like that. There are some movies from the early 2000s that do not feel like early 2000s movies. Like this is one, Trick or Treat is one, I think Jennifer's Body is one. There's a lot that just don't feel like it fits into that era. This is definitely one of them. This holds up no matter what. I think this will be a horror classic one day, if not now, because, you know, let's make this a horror classic, right? Now, I will say, I do skip the entire first scene, like the opening scene. I don't watch anymore. I do skip it because that I don't want to rewatch that or relive that again. Maybe that makes me a fake fan of this movie, but I don't feel like I need to rewatch the scene over and over again just to watch the rest of the movie. Now, as far as the writer-director of this, he hasn't really done anything that I really care about. He's also directed Dog Soldiers, which is another horror movie from 2002. I've never seen it. I don't know. Should I watch that? Is it disturbing? I think it's disturbing, right? I don't know. He's done a lot of one-off TV episodes for different shows like Hannibal, Game of Thrones, Westworld. Also, fun fact, this is one of Tobin Bell's, aka John Kramer, aka Jigsaw's favorite horror movies. One of them. He's got good taste. Next up, this one, no surprise, it's going to be in this video. The Cabin in the Woods. This is, again, one of the easiest rewatches. It's good every time. Like, I never get bored of this movie. And I'd be surprised if there are still horror fans out there who haven't seen this. In case you haven't, a group of friends go to, you guessed it, a cabin in the woods, and they find some things in the basement, and there's a lot more to it than that. Okay, this is obviously known as a meta movie. I'm not going to spoil the movie or anything, but it's a very meta, self-aware movie. It feels like it's not for a long time. When I saw this in theaters, I think I saw this twice in theaters. When I saw this in theaters, I was like, what is going on? In the first 30 minutes, I was like, this is stupid. I'm confused. What is happening? Who are those people? What's going on? But then, of course, it gets really, really fun and just, I can't even explain it. Like, I don't want to because I don't want to spoil it, but it is intense, and I absolutely love where this movie goes. The giant twist, right? Which is obviously so over the top and so ridiculous, but so fun. And this just offers the best in horror. Like, a lot of horror elements in this that are just so great. And it's not very scary, but it does have its moments. I think there are some visuals that are very horrifying, but the situation is a little less horrifying, if that makes sense. This is a great example also of a horror movie with comedy elements. Not usually, you know, comedy and horror is not really my thing. I addressed that a while ago. So you know that by now, but this one does it really well, and huge fan. Love putting this on any time of the day. So the next one is also one of my favorite movies of all time and my most recent rewatch. I just watched this a couple days ago. Silent Hill. Now, story-wise, this mostly follows Silent Hill 1, the video game, but the monsters within it are from Silent Hill 2, the game. So obviously this is inspired by the games, and in fact, the way that the director got the rights to make this at all is he made like a video essay saying how much he was obsessed with the games, how much he loved it. He even filmed a little bit of his own like inspiration from the games. My cat wanted to join. She wanted to be in my lap, so. Anyway, this one's about a mother who takes her daughter to Silent Hill to hopefully help with her nightmares. She's screaming out Silent Hill for some reason, so she decides to go, and obviously it's a very horrifying place. Like, it's not somewhere you want to be. Now, there is another Silent Hill movie being released. It is its own storyline. It's not a sequel to this one or anything. There was a sequel, Silent Hill Revelation, which I really enjoy, but definitely not as much. Like, I own it on DVD as well. It's obviously not as good, and everything was done CG in that one, so it you know, downgraded a lot in that one. I still enjoy it because it's Silent Hill. I like anything Silent Hill. This one was done mostly practically, which was amazing. Anyway, new Silent Hill movie coming out, and it's going to be based on Silent Hill 2, the game, so story-wise and I think monsters. So I'm hoping that one's going to be a little bit more accurate to the actual video games because they're using both the story and the monsters from the game. I do understand most of the criticism with that movie because the acting, questionable. I don't think the lead was necessarily the best choice to play Rose. Something about her, and apparently her acting style didn't really work with the other actors, or, you know, the director didn't really love the acting style of her because she had to do multiple takes to get into character. But I think Silent Hill is one of those rare movies where I don't want to see it for the first time again. You know how you say like I'd do anything to go back to see it for the first time? I don't feel that way at all because I genuinely think Silent Hill is one of those movies that is better on a rewatch. So if you decide to watch it, make sure you watch it at least twice in your life because the second time I think will be more enjoyable. Let me know if that makes sense or if you agree. If you have movies that are better as a rewatch, let me know. Next up, we have Chernobyl Diaries. Now, a lot of people actually mistake this movie for a found footage movie. I've done it on this channel. I said it was a found footage movie a long time ago. I've since been corrected, but anytime I talk about found footage movies, I get a ton of comments saying, you forgot Chernobyl Diaries. It's not a found footage. I know, I'm probably blowing a lot of your minds right now. There is a scene in the beginning where the character is filming, so it's like on his own little video camera, so it feels like found footage, and something about the way it's shot also feels found footage, but it's like we're the person filming it, you know what I mean? It's like the shaky camera's still there, probably not a selling point to most people. Is my cat really distracting to you? Should I make her leave, or are you guys okay with her being here? So this follows a group of friends who are traveling through multiple countries and backpacking and whatnot, and they decide to do an extreme tour, and they hire this extreme tour guide in Chernobyl in Pripyat to go explore the town where there was a nuclear explosion. Now, obviously, this is based on the real event that took place in 1986, and they end up stranded in the town, and so there's like horrific things going on there because of all the radiation. So this is one of the worst rated on this list at 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. I know not everyone cares about Rotten Tomatoes, but I just thought I'd give you a little perspective that this is not a loved movie. I am in the minority of liking this and actually subjecting myself to rewatching it. I genuinely like it. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's really horrifying, and I do like the way it's shot. There is, however, one more movie on this list that is rated worse than 17%, if you can believe it. Bet you can't guess which one it is. If you've been around a while, you know what's coming. So this is written by Oren Peli, who did, of course, Paranormal Activity. Maybe that's another reason why people associate it with found footage. I don't know. Not much to say about it. It's just good. Like, it's scary. There's jump scares involved, but again, it's just a good rewatch. For some reason, I gravitate towards it a lot. Next up, we have Sorority Row. So this follows a group of sorority sisters that are involved in a prank gone wrong, and one of them ends up dead, and they try to cover it up, but then they soon are targeted by like a masked killer, and then they're killed off one by one. Now, this movie is not described anywhere really as comedy, but it is camp. So again, a horror movie with comedy elements. There's definitely comedy within this. It obviously pokes fun at sororities and like just that, you know, lifestyle. And I read that this movie was almost PG-13, that they were trying to get it edited down in order to be rated PG-13, but they decided, they changed their minds. And boy, am I glad about that, because the best thing about this movie is the death scenes. There's no way this would be as good if they tried to get PG-13 rating. There's no way. It would be probably a terrible movie, and that's a rare situation where I believe that an R rating is better, but this one needs it. I love PG-13 movies. A lot of these are PG-13 movies. They're some of my favorite movies because you don't need a lot of gore and sex in movies to be scary or entertaining. This one needs it. I have to say, this is one of the rare instances that I believe it needs it, because the death scenes in this are iconic. Like, I would not change that for anything. If they toned down the death scenes in this, it would obviously wouldn't be the same movie. So for everyone that talks a lot of crap about this movie, who says it's so bad you don't like it, well, the executive producer of this is Mark Rosman, who was actually the writer, director, and producer of the original movie it's based on, A House on Sorority Row. Okay, so he's done the original and he worked on this one. Now again, this is one that I have not seen the original. I'm gonna bother so many people with that. I don't care. I haven't seen it. So there is a bit of gratuitous nudity in this. I'm usually not a huge fan of that, so it feels out of place at times, but whatever, it works in the sense of this culture and this movie. And there is kind of a boring looking killer. Like, there's really nothing special about them. You know, it's no Ghostface or Michael Myers or anything like that. Now, the writer of this movie did tweet this recently, saying or hinting at Sorority Row 2. I would love to see Sorority Row 2. Again, I don't care how bad it would be, because that one's, you know, generally considered bad. Maybe. What's it rated on Rotten Tomatoes? I'm really curious. Okay, it's at 26% from critics, 33% from audiences. That's not as bad as I thought it was rated, so I'll take that, but I would definitely watch a Sorority Row 2. Are you kidding me? I wonder if they would continue with like where this one took, like, I think it would be a different story, right? I don't think they'd bring back the original cast. There's no way. Okay, last but not least, this is the worst rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes on this list, but one of my classics, one of my OGs I continuously return to for maybe no reason, but I find enjoyment in it, and I'm gonna watch things that I enjoy. The Haunting of Molly Hartley. This is last because it's more of an honorable mention. This is definitely one of my most rewatched horror movies, but it has been a couple years since I've seen it last. I am due for a rewatch. Maybe just for the sake of this video, it'll inspire me. I'll do a rewatch maybe in January. I don't know. I had to include it. This has a 2% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. 2%. Again, normally I don't care that much about Rotten Tomatoes, but I had to include that to tell you how bad this actually is. But I love it. There are big names in it, generally. Like, you'll be surprised by some of the cast members in this. But this follows a girl who moves to a new school, or moves to a new town, is a new girl in school, tries to make friends. Her mother is in an institution for trying to kill her, and it just kind of goes from there. So a little bit demonic, you know, little something's going on there. There is a sequel that is terrible. Do not watch it. That one's genuinely really bad. What is that one rated? If it's rated higher than this one, I'm gonna be very upset, because it's at 2%. This better be lower than 2%. Okay, this reviewer didn't give it anything, so I'm guessing that's like a 0, which is good. There's one reviewer from the critics side, and it's at 22% from audiences. Let me see which one audiences liked, because again, I'm gonna be very offended. 22%. I'm gonna be very offended. Okay, so this one has an 18% from viewers, and the other one has 22%. Granted, this one has over 50,000 reviews. I should really do a video reading the bad reviews on this, because I think that's funny. Anyway, there you have all of, well, 10 of my most rewatched horror movies. Now, there are obviously a ton more. I have a lot of physical media and a lot of DVDs for a reason. Like, I love these on a rewatch. I tell Ryan all the time, you want to have a movie night? Go to my shelf, pick something out. I'll watch anything. Anything you want on the shelf. If I own it, I'll watch it. But these ones are specifically like some of my favorite comfort watches, or just some of the best ones that I gravitate towards year after year, no matter how many many times I've seen it. It just gets better and better, and I just love having them on my TV all the time. So let me know in a comment your most rewatched horror movie, or are you the type of person who can't rewatch anything? Like my partner Ryan's kind of like that. He can't rewatch anything. He hates rewatching stuff. Very few exceptions to that. So let me know, are you more like him, or are you like me where you're just constantly rewatching everything? Shows, movies. Also make sure to check out Rocket Money in the description down below. Click the link down there or go to rocketmoney.com/possessedbyhorror and check that out. Highly recommend. But for now, I hope you enjoyed my last video of 2023, and I will see you in the next year. Bye.